Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 10th edition of Ask Theo Anything. That's right, it's the 10th anniversary. Next week will be our last official edition of this. And then the following week, I'll answer more sort of funny questions, more personal questions, and questions not really to do with the election that you have sent in. Let's get straight to today's questions. The first one is from Zachary. He asks, you've talked about being the voice of young members in Scotland and Wales and having the support of the Vice Chair of Scottish Labour, Ian Miller, but what will you actually do? How will you change things? Basically, why should we give you our support? Well, first of all, and I know it's become also almost a bit of a sort of slogan of mine, but I'd have a big consultation first with members in Scotland and Wales. I'm not going to just come up with things off the top of my head. I'm not just going to ignore everyone's views. And also, being from the southeast, being from Kent, I'm not going to know what affects members in Scotland and Wales as much. But from what I've heard from discussing with members in Scotland and Wales, I will make sure that more of our sort of Labour headquarters, more of our meetings are outside of the southeast, outside of Kent. I'll also make sure that more money, more resources are given to young Labour groups in Scotland, in Wales, especially grants for travel, as unfortunately most events are either just in the big cities or in regional parts of England like the southeast, like Kent. But no, the main thing I'd do is actually to make sure you have more independence, to make sure you also have more of a voice on the NEC, and perhaps looking into actually having like a youth member representative for Scotland and for Wales, perhaps. But that's a good question, Zachary. The next one is from Alistair. He asks, what are your thoughts about the Grenfell inquiry? Well, I'm very angry that the government isn't taking forward the recommendations of the inquiry, especially when the then Housing Secretary James Brokenshire, I think it was, said, we will immediately implement these things, no fuss, no delay. We can't risk another tragedy like Grenfell Tower happening again. I'm absolutely furious at what this government's been doing, and they never cease to amaze me how more incompetent they can be day by day. Obey the law. Oh, but we've just broken the law. We will implement things to stop tragedies like Grenfell Tower. Actually, no, we won't. I'm just getting sick and tired of this. And that's why I'm still being active in politics and still running. And the last question is from Megan and Lucy. What other experience outside of politics do you feel would make you suitable for the role? Well, I work at a after-school club, and I used to work at a primary school. So I've spent a lot of time sort of dealing with issues from children and from adults, learning the right approaches, learning when to be calm, when to show frustration, when to raise my voice, when not to. So this has greatly enhanced my social skills, my skills in relating to people, getting through to people, which I think is absolutely essential in the NEC. We need a youth rep that can communicate well, that can actually work well and have good relations with other members, and is willing to be able to stand up, shout when necessary, but also knows when to take a more diplomatic approach. I think that's sometimes the problem we have on the NEC, that's a lot of shouting and argument and not always diplomacy. But thank you for the good question, Megan and Lucy. So make sure you send your questions in for next week. That will be our last proper edition. Please do tell your friends and colleagues, even your family members, that we still need your nominations, we still need your support. You can send your questions for next week at my Twitter or Facebook, or you can email me at theodoreg.michael@gmail.com. Thank you for coming today, and I hope to see you next week.